She said, "If I want to spend the night out, I don't owe you an explanation." I said, "Then neither do I." She came home at noon the next day. I'd moved out, everything gone, just a note out indefinitely, no explanation needed. Hey viewers, before we dive into the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the like button if you want more stories like this. Thanks. The final thread gave way at 11:07 p.m. on a Thursday. I was on the couch, a book open but untouched on my lap. The apartment's silence sat on me like a physical weight. The cable box clock clicked forward. She'd said she'd be home by 10 after a quick drink with the team. No scrape of her key in the lock. My text from an hour earlier, "Hey, everything okay?" Still unread. Then the intercom buzzed. I hit the button. "Yeah, it's me, let me up." Her voice already held an edge, a brittle charge humming through the speaker. 2 minutes later, the door swung open. She didn't look like she'd come from a casual office drink. She looked like a barely contained storm. A black dress I'd never seen. Heels meant for impact. Makeup sharpened, clearly redone. The stale scent of someone else's cigarette smoke clung to her jacket over the faint trace of pricey gin. "Hey," I said, keeping my tone steady. "How was it?" "Fine." A single word, a door slammed shut. She tossed her clutch onto the kitchen counter, the clatter too loud in the stillness. I watched her pour water, movements twitchy. The worry I'd been simmering in began to harden into something colder, clearer. "You said 10. I got worried." She sighed, heavy, theatrical, exasperated. "It ran late, we lost track of time." "Who's we?" I asked. She stopped, back still to me. "Just some people. You don't know them." A new chill pooled in my gut. For months it had been this way. A rotating cast of people I'd never met. Last-minute plans appearing out of nowhere. Her phone, once full of our silly memes, now always face down, buzzing with notifications from contacts saved as lone emojis. I tried to stay patient. Her promotion to junior brand manager 6 months ago brought a new crowd, louder, faster, always angling for the perfect Instagram clip. I told myself it was temporary, the rush of a new ecosystem. I was the anchor. I cooked the dinners she forgot about, listened to her office drama, handled the laundry, the bills, the soft, unseen maintenance of a shared life. Her safe harbor, she'd once called me, pressing a kiss to my forehead. The memory felt like a relic from another era. "Look," I said, standing. The book slid off my lap. I didn't bother picking it up. "It's a weeknight. And you're dressed for a club, not a post-work catch-up." "I'm not stupid, Sarah. Just level with me. What's actually happening? Are you heading back out?" She finally turned, and the expression she wore wasn't guilt or regret. It was raw, unfiltered irritation, like I was a fly circling something she considered hers to enjoy. "Why does everything have to turn into an interrogation with you?" "Yes, Maya and some of the crew are going to Lux. I told them I'd meet them. It's after 11. So what, do I have a curfew?" She gave a short, cutting laugh. "God, you could be suffocating." The word hit like a fist. Suffocating. For waiting up, for caring. I drew in a slow breath, that icy clarity spreading outward. "I'm not trying to smother you, I just want to know you're safe. I'd tell you if I was staying out all night." "Well, maybe if you actually had a life of your own, you wouldn't be so obsessed with mine," she snapped, snatching up her clutch and checking her reflection in the microwave's darkened door. That had become her new mantra. Get a life. For 3 years, my life had been ours. My friends had blended into our shared circle. My hobbies had shifted to fit our rhythm. I'd thought of it as building something. She recast it as some kind of deficiency. "So, you're going to Lux?" I said, voice flat. "And you'll be back when?" She spun around, eyes sharp and blazing. "I don't know. When it's over. When I feel like coming home." She stepped closer, not in affection, but like she was issuing a challenge. "Let's make one thing absolutely clear. I'm an adult. If I want to spend the night out, I don't owe you a justification. Not to you. Not to anyone. This isn't a custody hearing. I'm not your kid." The words hung there, poisonous and final. They weren't about tonight. They were a declaration. A rejection of every small worry, every gentle question, every shared duty, every silent promise that built this life. She had boiled 3 years of partnership down to a warden and a prisoner. Something inside me clicked perfectly into place. The buzzing anxiety, the frantic love, the static confusion, gone. A clean, quiet void opened. In it, there was only her proclamation, sharp as a scalpel. I looked at her, really looked. Not at the woman I'd loved, but at the person standing there, proud, entitled, already stepping out through a door I hadn't realized she'd opened long ago. I didn't raise my voice, didn't beg, didn't even feel anger. I just felt finished. I gave one small nod, an acceptance. "You're right," I said, my voice so calm it startled even me, the sound of that inner void. "You don't." A flicker of triumph lit her face. She thought she'd won. She thought she'd established control. I held her gaze and delivered the only logical extension of her new rules. "And neither do I." The triumph wavered, confusion flashing before twisting into a sneer. She assumed I was being childish, throwing her words back at her. She didn't hear the finality. Whatever, she scoffed, rolling her eyes. She straightened her dress like a queen dismissing a servant. Don't wait. Up. And she walked out. The door closed with a sharp, decisive thud that rippled through the empty apartment. Silence followed. Not the tense, anxious silence of waiting, but the deep, resonant quiet of something ending completely. I stood there for 5 full minutes, breathing in that stillness. The trace of her perfume and cigarette smoke lingered. Her earlier words, "I don't owe you an explanation," looped again, but now they sounded less like an attack and more like instructions. A guide for how to dismantle everything. A cold, focused energy began to spread through me. The grief sat there too, a black ocean waiting to take me. But for the moment, I was balanced on an ice sheet of pure purpose. I needed to move before the grief thawed and drowned me. I walked into the bedroom, our room. The king-size bed, the mismatched nightstands, hers buried in skincare, mine holding a book and my watch, the framed beach photo from 2 years back, our windburned faces so happy. It all felt like a museum display, the curated remnants of a couple long gone. I didn't touch her belongings. They weren't mine to worry about anymore. I grabbed my old, reliable suitcase from the top shelf of the closet, along with the leftover moving boxes from our last relocation. I started with my side of the closet. Shirts, pants, shoes, belts, methodical, efficient, steady. Each item folded or packed not with nostalgia, but with the detached precision of a soldier breaking camp. The suitcase filled with a week's worth of essentials. The boxes slowly consumed my books, my vinyls, the little toolbox my dad had passed down, the framed diploma, the lopsided ceramic mug I'd made in a college pottery class. Around 1 a.m. my phone vibrated, a message from her. "Maya's phone died, charging at the bar so you don't send the cops. Having fun. Don't be mad." I read it. The old version of me would have felt a sting. Would have typed, "Just be safe." The new me saw only a notification, a ping from a far-off satellite losing its signal. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my phone settings and changed her name from Sarah Redart to simply S. Then I logged into the banking app and shifted my half of the last paycheck into my personal savings, away from the thinning joint account meant for future vacations. The numbness functioned like armor. It let me glide through the place like a surgeon extracting the vital pieces of my former life. I grabbed my PlayStation, my laptop, my headphones. I left the TV we bought together, the sleek stand, the decorative pillows she'd fussed over. I packed the good knives my mother gave us but left the pots and pans behind. I wasn't pillaging, I was assembling a new life. In the living room, I hesitated at the bookshelf. Our books were woven together. One by one, I pulled out mine, leaving empty spaces like missing teeth. Her trendy novels, self-help titles, and coffee table photo books stood apart, suddenly looking lonely and oddly fragile. By 4 a.m., most of the labor was done. 4 boxes in my suitcase sat by the door. The apartment looked gutted, but only in precise sections. My areas were bare, hers remained intact, a shrine to someone no longer returning to the life she'd abandoned. I sat at the stripped kitchen counter with a notepad. The emptiness of the page stared back. What was left to write? The pleas, the arguments, the questions, none of them mattered anymore. She had already dictated the terms. I picked up the pen and wrote 5 words, clean and final, no explanation needed. I didn't sign it. It didn't require a name. The source of the philosophy was obvious. I leaned it against the empty fruit bowl, the lone object on that wide, bare counter, an understated monument marking the end. At 6 a.m., with dawn bleeding into the sky, Leo's truck. Kay pulled up. I'd texted him an hour earlier. Need help, no questions. And he didn't ask any. He helped me load the boxes and suitcase, his expression solemn but knowing. He slapped my shoulder as I locked the door for the last time and slid the key through the mail slot. "You doing all right?" he asked as we drove off. I watched the sleeping city blur past. "I will be," I said, and for once it felt true. The new place was a furnished studio, smaller, brighter, facing another street. It smelled like fresh linens and potential. Leo helped set the boxes inside and left. The silence settled again, but this one belonged to me. It wasn't the silence of someone missing. It was the quiet of a clean slate. I took out my phone. Before hesitation or old habits could whisper excuses, I opened my contacts, selected S, and tapped block. Then I went through Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, every shared digital thread, and cut them all. Block, delete, unfollow. A digital disappearance. By 8 a.m., I was a ghost in the network of her life. The man who waited by the door, who worried, who cooked, who asked for answers, that version was gone. All that lingered in that old apartment were her own words echoing back at her, and a note reflecting them with surgical precision. I sat on the floor of the empty studio, leaning against a box of books, and watched the sun rise fully. No tears, just breath. The game she'd been playing was finished. I'd simply chosen to stop participating and walked off the field without announcing it. The silence in the studio became its own creature. For the first 2 days it was a thunderous roar. 3 years had trained me to listen for a key turning, a text alert, the rhythm of her footsteps. Now there was only the low hum of the mini fridge and the distant murmur of the city. Background noise stripped of meaning. I didn't switch on the TV. I let the silence press in. Ward, until it no longer felt like something missing, but something that belonged entirely to me. I didn't crumble. I worked. I unpacked box after box, placing books on the lone shelf, hanging my clothes in the narrow closet. The blandness of the furnished room was comforting. No memories embedded in the beige walls, no ghosts behind the generic nature print. It was a sterile recovery room in a psychiatric ward, and I was the only patient, doctor and subject both. The first week taught me about slow planetary shifts. The reflex to text her a funny sign or to ask what she wanted for dinner flickered like a phantom limb, old nerves firing into nothing. Each time the impulse surfaced, I paused, then deliberately did something for myself. I'd run until my legs screamed. I'd cook a steak and eat it straight from the pan. I'd reread a chapter from a book that had once grounded me. I was retraining my brain, rewiring it away from the addictive circuitry of us. I had prepared for an emotional tidal wave, rage, panic, sobs on the thin studio carpet. None of it came. Instead, there was a deep, unnerving steadiness. The grief existed, but as a quiet sediment beneath the topsoil of my new routines. The real devastation had happened months earlier, while I was still lying in bed beside her, watching the person I loved morph into someone unrecognizable. The physical departure was just paperwork. My phone, now a quiet tool instead of a weapon, told its own narrative. Day 1, no messages. The void held. Evening of day 2, a call from an unknown number. I let it ring. A voicemail popped up. I erased it without listening. A rule is a rule. Day 3, 2 more calls from that same unfamiliar number. Then a text from another, unknown number, 10:14 p.m. This is Maya. Sarah is losing it. What the hell did you do? Call her. I stared at the message. What the hell did you do? The framing was immaculate. In their world, I was the saboteur. Her big declaration of autonomy, her night out, my quiet dismantling of our life. These weren't connected. My leaving was a rogue disaster with no provocation. I felt a brief spark, not anger, but a cold, precise satisfaction. The first flying monkey had appeared. I blocked the number. The real shape of her unraveling emerged piece by piece, a puzzle formed from stray clues. A week after I moved out, I logged into our shared cloud drive, the one we used for bills, a task I always handled. I needed a copy of our old lease. The newest file wasn't a bill. It was a screenshot uploaded from her phone 4 days earlier, a conversation with a contact saved as JF Fire. J Fire, 12:03 p.m. Last night was crazy, lol. You good? Sarah, 12:15 p.m. I'm not okay. My boyfriend moved out. He took everything. J Fire, 12:17 p.m. Oof, rough. Sorry. Sarah, 12:20 p.m. Can I see you tonight? I really need company. J Fire, 12:45 p.m. Insane week, man. Slammed. Maybe next week. The timestamp was the day after her big night out, so JF Fire was the destination, and now that the chaos was real instead of exciting and secret, he suddenly had a hectic week. I downloaded the lease and permanently logged out of the cloud, a quiet archaeologist sealing off the ruins of his own life. The next clue came from Leo, who had a loose connection to someone in her circle. Ran into Tim at the gas station. Leo told me over coffee, choosing his words carefully. He said, Sarah's telling people you had some sort of psychotic break. That you emptied the apartment in the middle of the night and disappeared because you were jealous of her work, friends. She was leaning hard into the martyr role. I took a sip of my coffee. Let her, I said. Leo continued. And that guy she's been hanging around with? Some bargain bin DJ or promoter, Jason. He's already checky. D out. Apparently he's known for chasing women who are taken because it's a game for him. Once they're actually single, he gets bored. Tim said he saw him at a bar last weekend hitting on someone else while Sarah was there with Maya, looking like she was about to summon a storm. I nodded. It was clinical confirmation. The vibes-only guy was exactly what he appeared to be, a vacuum wearing human clothing. Her triumphant march toward liberation had led her straight into the arms of a man whose entire identity was a revolving door. The poetic symmetry was almost too perfect. She keeps asking people if anyone's heard from you, Leo added. Like watching for signs. If you're okay, she doesn't sound sad. More like furious, like you robbed her of something. I did, I said, my voice flat. I took away her audience, her narrative, her chance to stand on a pedestal and announce the lesson she learned. She wanted a dramatic finale where she was the hero. I gave her a ghost story instead. Leo shook his head, a slow grin forming. Your eyes are cold, man. It's kinda scary. It's not cold, I corrected softly. It's quiet. The attempts escalated just as I expected, moving neatly along the familiar cycle. Confusion, bargaining, then the reveal of her true colors. Phase 1, the bureaucratic maneuver. 3 weeks after I disappeared, my email, one of the few channels I'd left unblocked, pinged with a message from her. Subject, practical matters. Sarah, we need to address the apartment lease. You are legally liable for your portion of the rent until we mutually terminate it. I also require you to remove any remaining items that belong to you. I cannot continue living in this state. Please behave responsibly and contact me to resolve these issues. I expect your reply. The framing was immaculate. The wounded adult forced to manage the reckless child. The tone was clipped professionalism, bait meant to drag me back into the arena of shared logistics, where she could regain footing. She was speaking in the dialect of our old world, unaware that language had gone extinct. I drafted a reply, not to her, but to the property management company, CCing her only as a formality. I'd researched the procedure during my first week of silence. To whom it may concern, this is to inform you that as of the date I left, I have vacated the premises located at old address. My former partner, Sarah, last name, remains in residence. I hereby relinquish any and all claims or obligations regarding this lease effective immediately. Please direct all further communication to Mess last name. Attached are my ID and signed relinquishment letter. Sincerely. I sent it. 60 seconds later, her inbox detonated with replies, frantic, scrambling to undo it. Do not accept this. This was not agreed upon. We need to talk. The professional mask shattered in under a minute. I created a filter that dumped all her future emails into a folder labeled archive. I never opened it. Phase 2, the emotional ambush. A month in. The voicemail arrived. She must have used a borrowed phone or bought a burner. The number wasn't blocked. Her voice was shredded, raw, sculpted to sound devastated. Hey, it's me. Please, just hear me out. I'm in the apartment and it's so empty. I can't sleep. I keep thinking I hear the door, but it's never you. What you did was so cruel, so final. I didn't mean what I said. I was stressed, drunk, stupid. He meant nothing, a mistake. You were everything. My real life. Please, I just need your voice. I need to know why. Why would you do this to us? To me? Just give me one explanation. One. The hypocrisy was exquisite. I need an explanation. The very currency she declared obsolete. Her voice cracked at the end. The old version of me would have broken apart. The new version listened with the cool detachment of a translator. The subtext was transparent. My new source of validation bailed. The old one isn't picking up. This is painful and inconvenient. Resume your role. I saved the voicemail, not out of nostalgia but as documentation, a fossil. Then I deleted it and blocked the number. Phase 3, the flying monkey offensive. 2 days after the voicemail, a local number lit up my screen. I picked up the call without thinking. A sharp, hostile voice exploded through the speaker. Maya, do you have any idea what you've done? You've completely ruined her. Hello, Maya, I replied evenly. Don't hello me, she's falling apart. She can't function. She's crying nonstop. And you just vanished like some coward because of one tiny argument? Seriously, what is wrong with you? Grown men communicate. I let the outrage hang there for a moment, letting the silence frame it. She established the terms of our relationship, I said, my tone patient and precise, like walking someone through simple arithmetic. I simply followed them. The conversation ended when she said so. A pause, stunned, sputtering disbelief. What terms? What are you even talking about? If I want to spend the night out, I don't owe you an explanation, I quoted word for word. She made the rule. I applied it universally. That's all. Fair is fair. You can't be serious. That's unhinged. You're twisting everything, so you don't have to own what you did. I'm not twisting anything, I said, calm turning into a scalpel. I'm stating the policy she set. She created it. I followed it. And the consequences are hers to handle, not mine. Do not contact me again. I hung up, blocked the number. Peace restored. Phase 4, the in-person ambush. It hit 8 weeks after I walked out. I was leaving the gym on a bright Saturday morning, sweat cooling on my skin, headphones in. Someone stepped directly into my path. I looked up. Sarah, but not the curated, polished version. A worn-down, frayed one, hair shoved into a messy bun, eyes bruised from either sleepless nights or old tears, leggings, an oversized sweatshirt that probably wasn't even hers, maybe JF Fire's, maybe just another artifact of the chaos she'd chosen. I slid one headphone out. "Excuse me," I said, moving to pass her. "You left me." The words came sharp, accusing, hurled like a stone in the sunlight. "You left everything." I stopped, looked at her, felt nothing. No love, no nostalgia, just the presence of the person who had authored my breaking point, now demanding a refund for the damage she caused. "I didn't leave you," I said evenly. "I exercised the clause you put in place. The no explanation needed clause. Your rule. I just honored it." Her face twisted. Bewilderment battling rage. "That's not fair. That was said in the moment. You're using it to hurt me." "No," I said, shaking my head. "Just following precedent. You stated it. I respected it. Now, if you'll excuse me." I went to step around her, but she grabbed my arm. The contact felt like static, jarring, wrong. "Wait, you can't just walk away. We need to talk about the deposit, about us." I looked pointedly at her hand until she let go. Then I met her eyes. She must have seen it then. Total emptiness where she used to live. "There is no us," I said plainly. "There's you and there's me. Whatever connection you're referring to ended the night you replaced it. The formalities just took a few hours." That's when the veneer cracked. The pleading evaporated. The real her surfaced, raw, furious, entitled. "You're a heartless bastard," she spat, venom dripping. "I hate you. I hope you die alone." A faint smile ghosted across my face. Not joy, not triumph, just recognition. There it was, the truth beneath every mask she had worn. "Duly noted," I said softly. I put my headphone back in, turned my music up, and walked past her to my car. I didn't check the mirror. Only the road ahead mattered now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. What are your thoughts on this story? Drop them in the comments below.